It's 2 minutes. It's 2 minutes past 7 p.m. East African time. I hope you had yourself an amazing day if you're watching or listening from Kenya. And I hope you're having yourself an amazing Wednesday if you're watching or listening from abroad. This is a Black Hot Fire News Update with me, Dimori. I'll be telling you about what has been happening throughout the whole of Africa and all that was hitting the headlines today. And you can talk to me on all our social media platforms at Black Hot Fire News, Black Hot Fire Network, and of course you can talk to me also on the comments. I'll be checking the comments. So let us head to our first news piece, where Kenya's economy grew faster than China, US in 2023. I repeat that Kenya's economy grew faster than that of China and that of the United States in 2023. Those are not my words. Those are the words of Dende Nyoro, who's the Kiharu Member of Parliament and one of the parliamentarians in Kenya who's responsible for the budget policy statement. So Kiharu Member of Parliament Dende Nyoro now claims that the Kenyan economy in 2023 grew faster than that of China and the United States of America. Speaking on Wednesday at a parliamentary session on the 2024 budget policy statement, Nyoro stated that the nation's GDP, that is the gross domestic product, was expected to increase, with figures from global institutions such as the World Bank and the IMF indicating the margins. The lawmaker, who also chairs the National Assembly Budgets and Appropriation Committee, so that was why he was saying this, because he's apparently the chair of the Budgets and Appropriation Committee, went on to say that the GDP growth rate in the first, second, and third quarters of 2023 averaged 5.9%, which he claimed is higher than that of the United States of America and China. He went on to say that the figures show Kenya as the 28th fastest growing economy in the world. He said, and I quote, "Our economy in the year 2023, the first quarter of 2023, the GDP of Kenya grew by 5.5%. In the second quarter of 2023, the GDP of Kenya grew by 5.5%, and it is in the third quarter that our economy grew up by 5.9%. He continues to say, and I quote, "We are still compiling the figures for the entire year, but it is projected that the Kenyan economy, that is the GDP in 2023, actually grew by 5.6%, which makes Kenya the 28th fastest growing economy in the world." He went on to say, the economy in Kenya in 2023 grew faster than the economy of China. In 2023, the economy grew by many multiples, actually, than the economy of the United States of America. The lawmaker did not stop there. He went on to attribute the economic growth to good policies made by President William Ruto and the MPs in the current regime. According to the MP, the legislation of the current regime is to thank for the immense economic growth. He said, the economy grew not just by our standards as released by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, but also the data released by international organizations and also Britain-owned organizations, including the IMF and the World Bank. So that is the chairman of the Budget Appropriation Committee, the Kiharu Member of Parliament, Dende Nyoro, who's also President Ruto's right-hand man, saying that Kenya's economy grew more than that of the United States of America and more than that of China in 2023. I don't know what you think about that. About Kenya's economy growing by up to 5.9%. That is measuring in terms of GDP. So you can talk to me and tell me, do you think this is just another bluff by this government, which I think it is? Another news, Margaret Wanjiru, who's a Nairobi pastor and a politician, a very famous popular politician in Kenya, now claims that the attack on her church left her brutally assaulted. Politician and preacher Margaret Wanjiru of the Jesus is Alive ministry has accused shadowy government operatives of being behind what she termed as the illegal demolition of her church. According to Wanjiru, who accused the Kenya Kwanza government of turning its back on her despite her campaigns for them in the previous general election, she sustained injuries during the Wednesday, Feb 6th incident and will seek treatment. She said, nimepigwa, nimeumia mkono na mguu, hata nataka kwenda hospitali. So that translated is, I've been beaten and my leg and my arm is broken. According to the former Nairobi governor candidate, several people who identified themselves as DCI, and the DCI is the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, and the National Intelligence Service officers paid visits to the property on the Hill Selassie Highway prior to its demolition. During the Wednesday incident, Bishop Wanjiru said that people who claimed to have been sent by Kenya Railways descended on her property and began the demolition and roughed up everyone, including herself. Wanjiru, describing herself as one of Kenya Kwanza's chief campaigners in the Nairobi region, stated that she did not expect to be repaid in such a manner. But that is politics, and that is what happens, because to be honest, she was among the politicians who really campaigned for William Ruto and for this government, and today they went and demolished her church and actually beat her up in the process. A Nairobi court had dismissed a case from 2022 that had challenged the construction of a wall between Kenya Railways and the land that Bishop Margaret Wanjiru's church is. The case was filed by Bishop Wanjiru's Church, Jesus is Alive Ministry, Rambai Patel SH Investments, and Soma Properties. The petitioners sued Kenya Railways Commission, claiming that the ongoing development was obstructing the access to the railway lane. So today they went and they demolished her church, and she was apparently injured in the process. So the video that you are seeing right now is that of plainclothes police officers entering popular Kenyan politician Margaret Wanjiru's church compound before demolishing it and allegedly assaulting everybody who was in there. So this video is courtesy of Citizen TV. So those are very heavily armed plainclothes police officers entering Bishop Margaret Wanjiru's residence. And she's a very popular politician who really campaigned for this government, campaigned for the Kenya Kwanza government under William Ruto. But it looks like the government is now against her to a point that they sent people to her church and her residence. Her church, that is the church that is at the Nairobi CBD, to demolish it, and they actually beat up people in the process, including herself. So that is politics for you. So that was Bishop Margaret Wanjiru's and the dramas that were happening at her church. Let us now head to Mwingi, still in Kenya, where a mysterious illness killed 2 pupils from the same school in Mwingi today. So this is what happened. 2 learners have died following an outbreak of a strange disease in Mukindu Primary School in Mwingi, Kitui County. According to reports, the first student was a grade 2 pupil, while the other was a 13-year-old grade 7 pupil who died a week later. According to reports, the first student was the school head teacher, Mr. Josephat Kimoto, according to reports, confirmed the outbreak, saying the children developed similar symptoms such as severe headache, high fevers, nose bleeding, vomiting, and eyes turning yellow, among others. Kimoto said that he was not sure what the outbreak could be, as scores of other children also reported to have such symptoms, where some were treated and have reported back to school. David Musili, an uncle to the deceased grade 7 pupil, said his nephew succumbed while they tried to gather efforts to take him to Ishiara Level 4 hospital, as nearby health facilities are not operational, while others were lacking medicine. The family of the student is now preparing to lay to rest a 13-year-old at their home in Mukonga area of Mumoni Ward in Mwingi North. So those are two students who died in Mwingi because of a mysterious illness that is still under investigation, and one died because apparently hospitals near where he lived did not have enough medicine or were non-operational, and therefore he died as they were trying to take him to a better hospital. Let us now head to Egypt, where Egypt says it has reached a deal with the IMF to increase a bailout loan to 8 billion US dollars. Egypt said on Wednesday that it has reached a new deal with the International Monetary Fund to increase a bailout loan to $8 billion. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbali announced the news in televised comments on Wednesday. Egypt has for months been negotiating with the IMF to increase a 3 billion bailout loan that both parties reached in 2022. So the 3 billion bailout loan has now been increased to 8 billion. The announcement came hours after Egypt's central bank raised its main interest rate and floated the currency. The measures have been among the key demands of the IMF. They are meant to combat inflation and attract foreign investment as the country experiences a staggering shortage of foreign currency. So this was what I was talking about on Monday. I remember I was talking about this on Monday about how some of the policies by the IMF are the main reason why so many countries in Africa are struggling financially and then deep. I was talking about this on Saturday, and in deep pits. So an example is Egypt, which was having a 3 billion, which the IMF had initially given them a 3 billion bailout loan, but Egypt was pushing for an 8 billion bailout. And so the IMF gave out some demands which have to be done so that they can increase their bailout loan. And among the demands was for that of the currency to be floated and the central bank to raise its main interest rate. So what that means is, with the central bank raising its main interest rates, then all the banks in the country are going to raise their interest rates also, because most banks at times borrow from the central bank, and that means they're going to get money at a higher interest, and the high interest is going to be transferred to the citizens. So that means access to credit in Egypt is going to be really hard. It will be very hard for a citizen in Egypt to access loans because of the high interest rates. And that comes with the floating of the currency. Floating of the currency is where the government no longer controls the currency, it lets it float for itself. And that is not always a good idea, especially if you are not exporting anything, your net exports are less than your net imports. So that is going to make the currency devalue. That is what we call the devaluing of the currency. And therefore, the economy in Egypt is about to get really rough. And those were demands by the IMF for them to be able to bail out Egypt, increase their bailout amount from 8. Initially, it was 3 million. So for them to increase their bailout amount from 3 million to 8 million, it gave those demands. Following the currency announcement, the pound began floating, and within hours, more than 60% of its value lost more than 60% of its value against the US dollar. By early afternoon, commercial banks were trading the US currency at more than 50 pounds for $1, up from about 31 pounds for the dollar. That was what I was just talking about. So after they floated their currency, floating the currency devalues it. And let me see what the rate was before today, so that you can see what this means and how much these policies affect. So the Egyptian pound initially was trading at 31 pounds, but right now it is at 50 pounds. So it increased by up to 19 pounds in a few hours after the government floated the currency. And for African countries that depend really rely on imports, That is not always a good idea. Having your currency being devalued is not always a good idea. So that is what is happening in Egypt. That was not enough. Devaluing the currency was not enough, according to the IMF. They wanted more suffering for the people of Egypt. And therefore, they ordered the central bank to increase the key interest rates by 600 basis points. That is up to 27.75%. The overnight deposit and lending rate were also increased by 600 basis points to 27.25% and 28.25% respectively. So that what that is going to mean is what I was saying. Now the access to credit in Egypt is going to be really hard. The price of almost all commodities is also going to be really high. So it won't be possible for the people of Egypt to. But anyway, that is what is going to happen to them. The Egyptian economy has been hit hard by years of government, corruption, pandemic. There is the fallout from the war in Ukraine, and most recently the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza. That is why they were out there trying to beg from the IMF to increase their bailout loan to shillings 8 billion US dollars, and they did, although it came at a price. Let us now head to South Africa, where South Africa is saying force should be used to break Israel's blockage on Gaza aid. South Africa's Minister of Internal Relations, his name is Naledi Pandor, on Tuesday said that the countries should use force to break Israel's blockage on aid getting into Gaza. Pandor was meeting with his Danish counterpart in Pretoria. The two leaders discussed bilateral ties and Israel's war on Gaza. Pandor said, and I quote, "Those powerful armed forces of the world should be instructed by their presidents or prime ministers that they will go into the Rafah border and their soldiers will escort all those trucks into Gaza and the West Bank. And since these are very close friends of Israel, surely they will be allowed safe passage. I can't imagine them being fired upon by Israeli forces." I don't know what to think about this. This is Pandor, the South Africa's Minister of Internal Relations. His name is Naledi Pandor, urging countries that are especially friendly with Israel to help escort aid into Gaza. He said that it is hard for the Israeli forces to fire at their friends, so they should just help escort the aid to Gaza. In a case where South Africa accuses Israel of committing genocide in Gaza, the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, issued a series of provisional orders on civilian protection and deliveries of humanitarian assistance, which have been ignored by Tel Aviv, as expected. More than 600,000 people in Gaza, that is a quarter of the population, are being affected by famine. And Israel has been accused of targeting aid deliveries in recent days, killing hundreds and thousands of desperate Palestinians. So I don't know what to think about this request. I don't know if it is a request or an order. Where South Africa's Minister of Internal of External Affairs, International Relations, his name is Naledi Pandor, is urging countries to intervene and help aid reach Gaza.
Of International Relations said Tuesday that countries should use force to break Israel's blockade on aid getting into Gaza.
Those powerful armed forces of the world, elected by their presidents or prime ministers, so they will go to the Rafah border and their soldiers will escort all those trucks into Gaza and the West Bank. And since these are very close friends of Israel, surely they will be allowed safe passage. I can't imagine them being fired upon by the Israeli forces.
Naledi Pandor was meeting with his Danish counterpart in Pretoria. The two leaders discussed bilateral ties and Israel's war on Gaza.
We share that we are facing humanitarian disaster and a very catastrophic situation in Gaza. So basically, we need to call upon Israel to allow more access. We are exploring the possibility of airdrops, but I share the assessment that that will only be, yeah, literally drops in the sea, so to speak.
In a case where South Africa accuses Israel of committing genocide in Gaza, the International Court of Justice in January issued a series of provisional orders on civilian protection and delivery of aid, which have been ignored by Tel Aviv.
And from human point of view, it's easy to say that the situation has to change now. That's why we support a call for immediate humanitarian ceasefire, which will allow humanitarian assistance and all the trucks to enter Gaza.
More than 500,000 people in Gaza, or what?
So that was South Africa's Minister of Internal Relations begging for other countries to help intervene and make sure aid reaches Gaza. In other news, Somalia has gained full membership of the East African Community. This was a few days after they formally submitted their request and signed a treaty to join the East African Community. So today, in a brief ceremony held on Monday at the EAC headquarters in Arusha, Somalia's Minister of Commerce and Industry, his name is Jibril Abdul Rashid Haji, was present as Somalia formally joined the East African Community. This was after a few days ago he presented what is called the Instrument of Ratification to the Bloc's Secretary General, which is part of the admission process. So as part of the admission process, you have to submit what they call the Instrument of Ratification. And therefore, today, they were able to formally join the East African Community, and Somalia can now be named as one of the 8 countries that are in the East African Community bloc. This is after a few days ago on Monday, I was reporting about the new currency, the Shiafra, the new East African currency, the Shiafra. So now Somalia will also be part and parcel of the Shiafra currency.
Somalia has gained full membership of the East African Community (EAC). At a brief ceremony at the EAC headquarters in Arusha, Tanzania, Somalia's Minister of Commerce and Industry, Jibril Abdul Rashid Haji, presented the instrument of ratification to the bloc's Secretary General, completing the admission process. EAC Secretariat Head Peter Mafunki said that the move will enable Somalia to kick off the process of joining EAC's areas of cooperation. Key areas include trade, investment, industrial development, and free movement of people, labor, and services, he added. Somalia now has the green light to contribute to the development of a roadmap for the integration into the EAC. The roadmap will detail how Somalia will implement the EAC's 4 pillars: the customs union, common market, monetary union, and political federation. Somalia first applied to join in 2012. It is now the 8th member of the bloc, which includes the Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan, Burundi, Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya.
So that was Somalia officially joining the East African Community. The East African Community is now made up of 8 states, with Somalia included. Let us now head to Nigeria, where Russian and Nigerian foreign minister held talks in Moscow. The foreign minister of the Russia and Nigerian government held talks in Moscow on Wednesday, where they discussed future relations between the 2 countries. Russian foreign minister, his name is Sergei Lavrov, told his Nigerian counterpart, his name is Yusuf Tugar, that Moscow sees Nigeria as a priority partner in the African continent. Tugar said, and I quote, the relationship will continue to grow, and we feel that we are in the right position to have a very strong strategic relationship with Russia. Lavrov also said that Moscow would continue to provide assistance to the country in the Sahel region in order to increase their combat capability. The cross-border region, which includes Mali, Burkina Faso, Chad, Niger, and Guinea, are some of the countries that have been going through coups and a lot of political transition. So those are the countries that the Russian prime minister was talking about. The Russian minister was talking
He was
about
talking about good
collaborating.
afternoon to you, Demore. That's what he was talking about.
Mhm.
He was talking about Hey, I thought the power went out in there. Power didn't
Come
go out,
again, please.
Demore. I thought the
Uh,
power went out. I thought the power went out in there with you guys.
yeah, it came back.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay, okay. How you doing today, Demore?
I'm doing good.
It
Just
must have just.
just reading them the propaganda here.
All right. It must have just came back on. I checked the radio. It was still off. Okay. So it must have just came back on.
Yeah.
So so what's the latest propaganda? I see I see jibber jabbers everywhere. Jibber jabber is here with you. Jibber jabbers in Uganda with Maria and
Mhm.
Seto. You everywhere, ain't you, jibber jabber?
Shout out to Jiva Jaba. So it was the Russian and the Nigerian foreign minister holding talks in Moscow, with the Russian foreign minister promising to help Nigeria increase its combat ability, especially in what he said was the conflict areas. That was the Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger.
They never been interested, the Morey, in stopping no damn the stuff that's happening, because the Nigerian puppets know very well who's responsible for the Boko Harams. They know very well they could have been defeated at Boko Haram, the Morey. Damn, uh, 12 years ago, 12 years ago. 12 years ago. You had a white mercenary group that they hired. They said, hey, yeah, we would have been wiped them out, but the Nigerian government said stop it because because they informed by some. He said some shadowy people, it's the UN and the people that run the world, said, hey, stop it. You're killing too many of the Boko Harams. We need them there. So that's how they got Buhari, who was a puppet. As soon as Buhari got in there, he stopped them from killing Boko Haram, because it's all a scam, Demore. Now they're going to Russia to help them. Why? I thought the Russians were helping Niger and Burkina Faso and
Mhm.
Mali from them, because they're part of ECOWAS. That story doesn't even make any sense. How you going to Russia to help you, and Russia's
Mhm.
there to help against you from invading Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali? You know, you don't even make any sense. What are you talking about?
Looks like Russia are just acting like hired mercenaries. They are going to the highest bidder and the one who is
Yeah.
offering more.
But yeah, well, they gotta make money. The more Russia's not a rich country, but
Mhm.
they have an educational system that they create a real military. But as far as Russia being a rich country, it's not. It's not a rich country, but it created a military to defend itself. And the
Mhm.
Russians are still just as racist, because the Russians. Look up this story for me tomorrow, real quick, Sam. Look up on Google. Say Sri Lanka um, decides to cancel Russian and Ukrainian visas because the Russians that didn't want to fight against the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians that didn't want to fight against the Russians, somehow, Demore, they made their way down to Sri Lanka. And guess what they
Mhm.
did? Like all white people do. They started creating neighborhoods, and they created a club, and they said none of you dirty brown people can come in here. This is a white only club. Now,
Yeah,
Demore,
it is. It is. It is. It
these
is here.
people,
Sri
yeah,
Lankan
these
says.
people, Demore, these people gave you sanctuary, Demore, but they
Uh-huh.
can't stop being wicked. They gave you sanctuary to come in their country, and you still create a club and say, no, nigga, you can't come in this club in your own country. That we let you come in here to get away from war. Go ahead, Joe. You can read. Go ahead, you can read Demore.
So it says Sri Lankan authorities said it would scrap free long-term visas for Russian and Ukrainian tourists. The move
Mm-hmm.
followed controversy caused by a Russian organized white-only party.
That's right, right only. And there's a club. They've not won a party, they're creating a whole club. They said none of you motherfuckers can come in, only white people. They They were trying to do like they were trying to do like they do in Africa. And the Sri Lanka said, "You out of your mind? We're not Africa. We're not about to allow no shit like that in here. You people came here because you didn't want to go to war with each other. And you gonna come here and practice your wicked racism? That's what I try to tell African people. The Russians are not your friends, morons. They're just as racist as anybody else. They need your help right now because they're being about to be overthrown by the other white people. That's all. They're not your buddies. They don't like you. You keep thinking, hey, Russia's our buddies. They're gonna help us. No, moron.
They were actually using the words Russia is the lesser demon. The lesser demon. That was the word they were using.
Yes, Demore. A demon is a demon is a demon. You can't. How can it be a lesser demon, Demore? Either you're a demon or you're not.
Yeah, that is the narrative that is going on right now.
I know
Okay, Russians are not good people, but they
that's
are
what
the
I'm.
lesser demon.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you, Demore. The African childlike mind. It's got to stop. It's got to grow up. Yeah, you can use them for your benefit. Yes, and you want to partner with them, but know what you're dealing with. Okay, you know they're demons, and okay. Imagine like a rattlesnake or some shit. You know it's a snake and it's gonna bite you, but you might need it for something. You say, no, we're gonna partner up. I know you're no good, dirty snake, and in the end, you're gonna want to bite me. But
Yeah, so you treat it
I,
with caution.
that's right. I'm gonna watch you. You gonna watch me. You gonna benefit. I'm gonna benefit. Then once we both benefit, we go our separate ways. That's how you supposed to take that relationship, Demore. It ain't no better demon. The demon is a
And,
demon.
and there you have it. The word of the day is that a demon is a demon. There is no lesser demon.
How do you get a lesser demon? A demon is a demon, Demore.
It has lesser horns and smaller
Yeah,
teeth.
the small teeth can still bite the shit out of you. It's still a demon.
Uh,
so, family, understand. I don't know what game Nigeria's playing. I told you, all this big boy Africa stuff with Nigeria is moronic. They are the worst backward ass Negroes on the planet. They're never gonna put Africa out of slavery. They love white. They love being subjugated as a people. They love it. They love it. Oh, hold on. Oh, go ahead, Demore. Let me see Maria one. Go ahead.
okay. So here is a video of the meeting that happened today between the two ministers.
Nigeria's foreign minister on a visit to Russia on Wednesday. His counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, said Moscow sees Nigeria as a priority partner on the African continent. Russia is making and will continue to make a constructive contribution to the efforts of Africans and the world community to stabilize the situation in the Sahara-Sahel region. It will provide assistance to countries of the region in increasing their combat capability of their national armed forces, security forces, and law enforcement authorities in order to counter the threats that persist, as I already said.
The multipolar system is what obtains, and multilateralism is what we feel should be strengthened even further. And the relationship will continue to grow. We feel that we are in the right position to have a very strong strategic relationship with Russia.
And that was what has been happening in Nigeria with the meeting between the Nigerian, and you had the word combat capabilities severally. So they are saying that they want to help Nigeria increase its combat capability. And he said that they see Nigeria as their strategic partner in Africa. Anyway, that was all we had on the Black Hot Fire News Update, and a big shout out and a big thank you to Jiba Jaba, who was with me, and of course all those who are listening and watching silently, and for all of those who are going to watch this news update later. So it is a night where Kenya's economy has grown faster than that of China and the United States of America. Those are not my words. Those are the words of Ndende Nyoro, the chairman of the Parliamentary Budget Appropriation Committee and the member
Based on what?
based
What?
on he
What?
said it was based on
What?
reports from the World Bank and the IMF.
We'll make it IMF. What?
Yeah,
Hey, listen. Hey,
uh
Kenya, come on. Like I said again, African
he actually
men.
said, just a minute,
the-
he actually said the Kenya's GDP grew by 5.9%, which was higher than that of the United States of America and
Oh,
that of China.
that could be true. Ever grew by 5.9 because it has no place to go but up. But that's not really a significant factor, depending on where it's coming from. But that could be true. That because China's in economic collapse, America's in economic collapse, so that could actually be true. But does it
Mhm.
mean there was any wealth generated? No, that's all smoke and mirrors. But could the GDP be higher? Yeah, because you got two economies that are collapsing in on themselves. The Chinese economy's collapsing, the American economy's collapsing. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah, so
that could be true.
right now Kenyans are very happy because they were told the economy grew faster than that of China and the United States, and that Kenya was
that
the
that that
28th.
they happy, but that don't mean nothing. That didn't improve your life. Is the dollar flour gone down? Is gas stopped? You guys got God damn, that's such economics. Shit. You gotta start teaching. Yeah, they say our economy grew faster. That doesn't mean anything. It's all it's the number. You need to see the benefits in your day to day life. Jesus Christ.
And Jiva Java is asking, then why is there open sewerage and screwed up internet and electricity?
Yeah, yeah, the electricity don't work right. And that's the crazy shit.
No,
Exactly right,
listen,
Jimmy.
Jiva Java, listen. The economy grew faster than that of the United States and that of
And
China.
you'll tell people that shit when they sitting in the dark. Yeah, our shit grew faster. Yeah,
Yeah,
man, nigga, you're in the dark. In the
you're not
dark.
gonna hit the 5.9%. It's not
Yeah,
even there.
it's an illusion. Jesus Christ, guys. Those numbers don't mean anything unless it improves your life. It's not real. You can't say, yeah, can't be stuck with your wife in the dark or in the candlelight. Hey, baby, our economy grew
No,
faster in
no, no.
China
We
and
are in the
America.
candlelight phase, but our economy grew faster than that of China. Kenya was
Right.
rated, according to the MP, Kenya was rated the 28th most developing economy in the world.
Wow, that's 28. And all the damn lights though, and you can't keep the power on. What are you talking about? Shit crazy. What are you talking about?
And
Shit.
a big shout out to 10 Speed, who's saying China is in economic collapse. I didn't
Yeah.
know. No, he
Yeah.
didn't know that China was in economic collapse.
Yeah.
It is also a night where Egypt has said it has reached a deal with the IMF to increase a bailout loan to 8 billion US dollars from the 3 billion that they had initially agreed. So the IMF is going to bail out Egypt with 8 billion US dollars worth of loans. This is after, but the bailout comes with demands. One of the demands being that Egypt has to float its currency and the central bank has to raise its main interest rates. So that means now the Egyptian pound is going to go to be devalued, and of course, access to credit in Egypt will become a myth. It is also a night where uh, South Africa has said that force should be used to break Israel's blockage on Gaza aid, calling for countries that have military capabilities to use force to break Israel's blockage of aid. It is also a night where what else was happening today? That was all that was happening today. It was also a night where Somalia has officially gained full membership of East African Community after they handed their instrument, what they call the instrument of ratification, to the bloc secretary general a few days ago. So today it has officially joined the East African Community. So that is all that has been happening
But
throughout Africa.
shout out to the youngsters on TikTok.
Mhm.
Shout out to you. They actually know that the JEW rules this planet. I've been surprised by these young Africans. They know
Mhm.
who runs this planet. I've been surprised. I'm like, what? Uh-oh. You guys that's family.
They
That's why
say
you can tell what they want. Go ahead.
They said if you want to know who runs the planet, look
No,
at
you
who you are
can't
not
talk.
supposed to
You're
talk
allowed to
about.
talk about. That's right.
Yeah.
No, you know who you can't talk about, and also who own these goddamn banks. So anyway, so shout out once we
And
making
now,
these phony loans, the more out of nothing.
they're going to make sure that this stream has 0 views, and I'm going to wonder, wasn't Jiba
Yeah.
Jabba in? and, and, and of course 10 speed and many others. So
And
that
we'll be
was all
back.
we had.
And we'll be back in a minute, guys, with the African Nation with me and Joby.
Joby is actually coming in a bit, so make sure to join Joby and Keith on their show is coming up in a bit. So I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day and the rest of your night. If you're watching from Kenya, it's always a pleasure. Join me tomorrow on the Black Hot Fire News Update. It's always a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen.